Unit 9C, angle between vectors. To find the angle between any two vectors, you would use this formula right here. Let's go over the question. The question says, find the angle between the vector u. Vector u has components 3 and 4. Vector v has components 5, 2. So you want to know what is the angle between these two vectors. Vector u has a x component of 3, so it moves over 1, 2, 3, and then it goes up 1, 2, 3, 4. Vector v, let's put the initial point at the same position here as 3, 4, and then go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then up 2. So this vector going like this. We want to know what is the angle between the two vectors. So in order to find this theta angle, we would have to calculate the cosine inverse of this right here, which what it is you're going to do the dot product of vector u times vector v, do the dot product of them, and then divide the dot product by the magnitudes of each multiplied. Let's go ahead and get started with that. So the dot product of u and v would be 3 times 5 added to 4 times 2. 3 times 5 is 15, and 4 plus 8 is 23. Next, we're going to calculate the magnitude of u. The magnitude of u you see here is a 3, 4, 5 triangle. You can use the Pythagorean theorem to get it, but it is going to be 5. Let's find the magnitude of v. Again, square root, and then plug in 5 for x and 2 for y, and then it's going to be 5 squared plus 2 squared is 29. Square root of 29 is the answer for that. Basically, what we're going to do next is plug it in here. So let's bring down theta equals cosine inverse. The dot product was 23 at the top. At the bottom, we're going to multiply 5 times square root of 29. This is usually where the problem comes up when you're doing this. Plug it into a calculator. What I would do is just divide 23 by 5, get an answer, and then divide it by square root of 29, whatever that answer was. And you get some decimal. To the nearest 1,000 would be adequate. You would be able to get a very close angle, very good angle approximation. So theta is about 31.4 degrees. So this looks to be 31.4 degrees. Problem B. You have this vector here in linear combination form. So this looks a little more difficult, but it's not. It's just a lot more work. What I'm going to do is actually get numbers for each one of these. So let's start with this one. Cosine of pi by 3 is the same as, well, pi by 3 is 60 degrees. The cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. So what I'm gonna do with all of these is change them to actual numbers. This one, sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. In this one, we're going to work out cosine 5 pi by 6, get an answer, times it by 3. That goes here. And then go ahead and do sine of 5 pi by 6, get an answer, times it by 3. That goes here. So essentially this top equation is the same, or these two vectors, will be the same as these two vectors on here. Now we proceed to do the same thing we did with the previous problem. Find the dot product of u and v. So we're going to multiply 1/2 times this quantity, add it to Radical 3 over 2 times this quantity, 3/2. Then we continue on. This would be radical 3 radical 3 over 4 plus 3 radical 3 over 4. Next is going to be, since we have common denominator, it will be 6 radical 3 over 4. We can reduce this, but let's leave that alone for a second. Let's go ahead and calculate the unit. No, not the magnitude of vector u. What I'm doing is I'm just plugging in the x component and the y component into the formula. This is going to turn out to be 1/4. This is going to be 3 over 4 because the square and the square root cancel out. 3 over 4. So it would be 1/4 plus 3/4. And that's going to be 4 over 4, which is 1. We do the same with vector v. Plug in this for x and this for y. 3 squared is 9. This cancels out, so it'd be 3 times 9 is 27 on top. 2 squared is 4, so 27 over 4 added to 9 over 4. 27 plus 9 is 36 over 4, which is equal to square root of 9. Square root of 9 is 3. These numbers turn out to be integer numbers. The dot product turn out to be this right here on top. So let's go ahead and plug it into the formula. Theta equals cosine inverse of 6 radical 3 over 4 divided by 1 times 3. Multiply these out, you're going to get 3 times 1 is 3. It's at the bottom, same as 4, so you multiply those out and put it at the bottom. 12 must be at the bottom, so theta is cosine inverse of 6 radical 3 over 12. Reduce here, so 6 goes into 12 2 times, radical 3 over 2. And the cosine inverse radical 3 over 2 is pi by 6. And so the angle between these two vectors is pi by 6, or 30 degrees.